All right, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get started with some logistical and welcoming so we can maximize our time with our guests today. So, again, good morning and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for our webinar today. Before we get started, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Dr. Christine Moody. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and the lead on several of our post-secondary education and employment initiatives here at the UCLA Tarjan Center. The UCLA Tarjan Center is a federally designated center for excellence in developmental disabilities and your host for today's webinar. Support for this webinar comes from a contract with the California Community College Chancellor's Office to provide training and technical assistance to the community college system, DSPS offices, and the college to career programs towards supporting equitable access, services, and opportunities for students with developmental disabilities in community college. So before we transition to the talk, a few logistical items to go over with you. We will be recording this webinar and it will be available for later viewing on our website in about a week. Everyone who registered will get a notification by email when it's up and available. Throughout the webinar, all participants will be muted, but we invite you to put questions in the Q&A feature on Zoom. We'll try to get to as many as we can. We'll have two different Q&A sections during this webinar, one around the middle and then one at the very end. For those that who would like closed captioning, I'm going to put a captioning link in the chat right now for everybody. We have stream text. There's a stream text link for those of you who would like live closed cart captioning. All right, so thinking about today's webinar, today we're going to be talking about an innovative model within the Fresno City College DSPS office designed to increase college enrollment for all students with disabilities and facilitate quick connections to the DSPS services and supports that enhance student success. The FCC transition to college team, as they call it, will describe the practices they found to be effective with a particular focus on students with autism and/or intellectual disability, and will share insights into the logistics needed for other colleges who might be on the call today to implement similar initiatives. So the webinar will be presented by the Fresno City College Transition to College team. So we've got Susan Ariola, the Fresno City College DSPS director. Got her waving hi, Susan. Stephanie Salazar, who's the senior program specialist coordinating the transition to college team. We also have Lorena Pineda, the DSPS counselor at Fresno City College, and Sage Talbot, who's the counselor and coordinator for the Fresno City College to Career program. Thank you all for being here and for sharing your knowledge and experience. I'm going to be turning it over to Susan.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Stephanie's getting our slides ready. Right. Okay, so I'm Susan Ariola. I'm the DSPS director at Fresno City College. And today I have the privilege to share information about our transition to college program. The transition to college program, TTC, was developed by DSPS over 20 years ago. The program was developed actually by an advisory board that then recruited Ms. Tam Tippett, which recently retired 29 years. And so we want to give her credit where credit is due. And so she really developed and provided support to eligible students by doing some research. And then she began reaching out to other SPED staff at local high schools regarding the needs of their students. Much of the logistics had not been formed. TTC began as a after-school class to provide specialized instruction to formulate strategies for success in the college environment. Later, TTC would connect with Fresno Unified School District administrators who liked the benefits of TTC, and this began a partnership and collaboration that we have today. And so we're going to go over, just like we introduced earlier, just all the different steps to transition to college. So I would now like to introduce Lorena Pineda, and she will go over our TTC team structure.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lorena Pineda, and I'm a counselor at Fresno City College in the DSPS office. Today, we're going to do an overview of our TTC program or our structure. Trying to look at the slides. There you go. So in the webinar today, you're going to hear from our senior program specialist and what her role is, Stephanie Salazar. We're also going to go over the structure of the counseling team, the services that they provide for our students in the TTC program. We're also going to hear from our full-time counselor coordinator, Sage Talbot. She is the counselor for the C2C program and how we collaborate with her. And we have a peer mentor today that works closely with our students for the TTC. So you'll hear from Elijah, and then you'll also learn about our dual enrollment courses, specifically the developmental service courses that we offer through dual enrollment at through Fresno Unified School District. We'll give you more information on that. And now we're going to begin by hearing from our senior program specialist, Stephanie Salazar. So I'll turn it to you, Stephanie.
Alrighty, hello everyone. As Lorena mentioned, my name is Stephanie Salazar. I'm the Senior Program Specialist for Fresno City College's DSPS TTC program. So as a Senior Program Specialist, I'm responsible for coordinating our outreach transitional services with our K through 12 partners. TTC works with K through 12 partners to identify students who are on an IEP or a 504 plan. We work with eligible high school seniors to provide specialized matriculation support while also connecting them to a network of student support programs designed to support and encourage students throughout their time with us. Students self-identify to initiate services through various steps. Throughout the entire school year, we work with these eligible students to help them navigate and complete those matriculation steps. So next I'm going to talk about documentation and how we go about receiving that documentation from students. Excuse me. So once a student applies through the State Center Community College District, students' information is protected by the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA, deeming the student as an independent student who has the option to opt into services. Interested students will sign a consent of release form that is sent to their respective school districts. The district will then release those documentation to us if there's one on file for the student, and the TTC team will attach that documentation to the student's application, where it will go ahead and be reviewed by a DSPS counselor. Once that documentation is approved, students will move to the next matriculation step of having an interactive dialogue to discuss possible auxiliary aids during their time with us here at Fresno City College. I'm going to pass it back to Lorena, who's going to talk a little bit more about our TTC counseling structure and how we go ahead and handle these matriculation steps throughout the year.
So as Stephanie mentioned, once we identify students in the K through 12 system that are interested or eligible for our services, the counselors do come in. So I'm just going to go over the structure of the counseling team. So we have adjunct counselors, part-time counselors that go out to the high schools and work with these students. So we start off, of course, with the matriculation steps that include doing the college application, the DSPS application. We have the intake. That's where we have the interactive dialogue with the student, and then advising for classes, and then assistance with registration. We first begin in the fall. So in the fall semester is when we're going out to the high schools, the counselors, and then we're helping students that are interested in attending college by completing the college application. Once they receive their student ID number, if they're interested in our program, the DSPS program, we have the student complete an AIM application specifically for our office. Then eligible seniors, once they complete those two applications, they meet with a counselor, and that's where we have an interactive dialogue. So we review their IEP or 504, the documentation verification that we have received from the K through 12 schools or the high school in this case, and then we set up academic accommodation plans. So we set up their accommodations, we review it with them, and then let them know what they are, so they can use them when they start attending college and for the next year. So that's the fall objectives. And then in the spring, we go out as a counselors as a team and we continue the matriculation process. However, we start doing academic advising. So we do a student education plan depending on the student's educational goal. So that's where we kind of discuss, what is your career interest, or do you want to earn a certificate or an associate degree? And we plan out their first semester for them to start in the fall semester. Once we do that, we give them their educational plan and we let the student know, we inform them we're going to come back out to the high school and then help them out with registering for classes. Our students do get prior to registration when they sign up for our program. So we go out and then help them register for the classes, because it could be tedious, especially, or challenging for any student, because it's their first time in college. So we really want to support them through the process. And then we also offer campus tours for any high school that's interested in bringing their students, their TTC students, to get to know not only our office, but the other programs and services that we offer on campus, and just get to know our campus as a whole. In the summer, our objectives, or what we focus on, is we have a summer orientation for all the students that have been fully matriculated. So meaning they completed all the steps in the matriculation process. We have an orientation for them and they come and get to meet. It's also like a tour, but we have breakout sessions. And then it's a perfect time to do a meet and greet with our office faculty and staff. And then get to know, like the bookstore, or maybe they want to get their college ID. And the breakout sessions, they vary. We change it up every year. We have one that's on the faculty notification letter, or it just depends, what the students are wanting to learn more about. And so we have our breakout sessions that students can attend. Usually it's 2 sessions that they attend. So that's our structure, our counseling structure. And now I'm going to turn it over to our next.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to discuss some specialized supports within our DSPS office here at Fresno City College. As mentioned earlier, my name is Sage and I'm a counselor coordinator for our C2C program, which is College to Career. It's a 3-year program for students specifically with an intellectual disability and or autism. And this program is contracted and supported by the Department of Rehabilitation as well. This program allows students to obtain a certificate and or associate's degree, depending on their goals, with the ultimate final goal being employment in a job that they're hoping to obtain and keep for their future. So the TTC collaboration with C2C allows me as a counselor coordinator to identify and target students that would be eligible in the program. It also provides insight to the other DSPS counselors, knowing that they have a counselor they can refer a potential student over who would benefit. So once they identify or see a student with this specific diagnosis, they can refer over to me for that more specialized counseling and support. Now, we are aware that most community colleges do not have a C2C program. However, we also keep in mind that if a student with a specific disability may need more specialized support, we do try to have designated counselors who can be a liaison for local agencies like the DOR, regional centers, or for example, our EAC classes. So students who may want to take specialized classes within our office, we do have a counselor designated to support them along the way. And that wraps it up for my insight and collaboration with Transition to College.
Okay, so here we go. So here I gave you a few minutes to look at our line graph. And so looking at DSPS enrollment, the data shows here, not only in red, you will see our DSPS enrollment, but also in black, you will see our TTC, our transfer to college enrollment. So there's just a few things I wanted to highlight. First, we are 90% of our pre-COVID enrollment numbers. So technically, and I'm just going back to about 2018-19, we were at about 2,200 students, and TTC was about 260 that we enrolled for our senior student from our senior high schools. And looking at COVID, you can see a dip there in 2021, just like the whole entire state. You can see the numbers did dip, and the TTC numbers at that time were about 261 in 2020 and 2021, and our enrollment was down to about 1,600. And now today, looking at 2023, you will see that it is rising, and currently we have, just as of yesterday, we have an increase of 443 students from our enrollment numbers, and those students are still, our numbers are still going up. And currently our DSPS numbers are at 2,088. So looking back at the comparison from 2018 to 19, we are almost post-COVID. So those are, that was something I did want to highlight. So again, thank you. And the next slide, please. Okay, so I will introduce our student mentor, Elijah Duran. Elijah is currently seeking his master's of clinical rehabilitation and mental health counseling. Yay, Elijah. As a peer mentor, Elijah is aware of the limitations that our students with disabilities encounter. And we did want to highlight some of the things that Elijah does with students, from creating video tutorials to really supporting students one-on-one. So, Elijah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. So I just wanted to get into what exactly I do as a peer mentor. So as a peer mentor, I assist students with any non-counseling support related to navigating to their transition to college. When assisting students in the high school setting, I support them in the matriculation process by helping them register for college and also applying to our DSPS program. As well as during the TTC students' first year of college, once they graduate high school, I provide support by showing them how to use the different apps found in their student portal, as well as answering any, like I said earlier, non-counseling questions they might have, such as office protocols and procedures, or other campus resources. Some examples of support I provide are showing students how to find or register for classes, checking their book lists, as in what books they need for their classes, how to download and log into their Outlook email app on their phone. That way they have quick and easy access to their student emails, as well as requesting accommodations for their classes via AIM. And this is a big one on how to use Canvas efficiently and effectively, because Canvas is a new system rather for new college students. And I wanted to, like Susan mentioned about the video tutorials, if there are an overwhelming amount of similar questions that I get regarding something, I will create a video tutorial that students will be able to refer back to. I know one of the biggest examples that I did was when we switched from WebAdvisor to self-service, there was a lot of students that didn't know how to utilize the new system. So when I created the video, it ended up helping a lot of students. But yeah, that is pretty much the gist of what I do. I am now going to bring it back over to Stephanie.
Alrighty. So I'm back again. I'm going to talk about some of the benefits of TTC. This is going to be geared more towards the benefits that students who go through the TTC program will get. So one of the first benefits is going to be an innovative team approach. We work as a team, and because we are familiar with our program and also with the K through 12 matriculation program of trying to get students enrolled, this team approach is a great way to provide that one-on-one support to our students, as well as providing those highly personalized services and the one-on-one support that I have already mentioned. It also increases the timely completion of matriculation. It provides autonomy to students, and it really provides the building blocks for self-advocacy for our students as well. And next, I'm going to bring it over to Susan, who's going to talk a little bit more about our dual enrollment and TTC program.
Hey, thanks, Stephanie. All right, so our dual enrollment, we do offer three course section of our developmental service courses, educational assistant classes in our K-12 system. And we will learn a little bit more about that from Rodney. He's going to be jumping on next, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about those. These courses are designed for new students, seniors that are in obviously their senior year, and they're needing additional instruction and strategies on what they need during their coursework and as they transfer over to our school. This specialized instruction is it formulates different strategies for success in college and a variety of other skills. This also helps with the matriculation support in regards to doing the application process and registering for classes, just like those were discussed earlier from Lorena. And we have, of course, DSPS counselors assigned that go out to the high schools and support not only the teacher, but also the students. So we're now going to, next slide, please. I want to introduce our K-12 partner, Rodney Fontes. He is a dual enrollment instructor for our transition to college class. He teaches 2 sections of the TTC class, and he has been working with our TTC program since 2021. So Rodney, if you'd like to join us.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Rodney.
Just a little bit about myself. I've been teaching in special education for 32 years now. And for the past 20 years, I have been the transition specialist for Central Unified School District. If you're familiar with Highway 99, McKinley to Herndon, if you look west, that is Central Unified School District. We also have a 3rd high school. They don't have seniors yet, but next year they will. So we will have 3 high schools doing TTC. And how has the transition to college course assist our students? It's been really needed. Most of our students and their families have difficulty completing the process. So the transition to college class has just really assisted those families, particularly the first generation student, with completing the application process and the FAFSA and all the other things you need to do to enroll at the community college level. So they made the admissions process a lot easier. One of the things I did notice is we have some students, a lot of students know what they really want to do, a truck driver, hairdresser, so forth. But then we also have that group that's like, I don't know. And, they're only 17, 18 years old. So we get that a lot. And, well, do you want to go to college? No, I don't want to go to college. So, but when the Fresno City staff comes in and they meet the advisors and they talk to the Fresno City staff, if I send 10 students to them, 9, sometimes 10 will come back and say, yeah, I'm going to Fresno City College. So they kind of clarify a lot of things about college, and they really get us through all the paperwork and all the applications and so forth. And so as the team, have they assisted me? I would say unbelievable the support they give us. When they come on campus, we dedicate like sometimes 3-4 hours to them, and they pretty much take over our building, and we set them up and they get their computers out, and then they sit down and they work with students. I know Stephanie and I, during advising, I'm like, Stephanie, could we hurry this up a little bit? Because we got like 38 students to see today. And Stephanie's, no, they need quality time. This is a very important process with advising. And when you look at their advisors actually, they're caring, they're nurturing, they understand the student's disability, and they sit there and they do listen. The student gets a quality, like 30 minutes with the advisor. And, that's where they select their classes and so forth. So overall, we have 70 students, 2 campuses. Next year, it should grow to 3 campuses. And I would like to thank Fresno City. It's brought, a lot of our students, helped them with the application process. And one more thing, when they do the application process, sometimes we have some students who go through general ed, but if they go through the general education counselor, those counselors are working with hundreds of students. So to have it a transition to college class with students with disabilities is a major impact, and it makes a difference because it is so difficult to complete that application process for some of the students and families that we serve. And that's what I have for now. Any questions?
Thank you, Rodney. Do we have any Q&A? I know we would like, if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat.
And any questions specifically for Rodney related to dual enrollment or the TTC classes for seniors? I know we've got a few other questions in the chat, but we'll get to those at the end. Let's see, one question from Chris. Are students who are taking these TTC dual enrollment classes, are they for credit?
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, they get 1 credit, and they feel really good about that, by the way. They get a college credit, and they feel good about it. So dual enrollment. So dual enrollment is trending these days. And we have other students on campus that take dual enrollment in other subjects. So the special ed population, they take a dual enrollment class also. So yes, it's 1 credit. And let me talk about one of the other perks to it is the priority registration. So the student with the IEP could get their registration done before the general ed student. So they would have the choice of their classes. And we really urge them to take advantage of it. And I would say probably 80% did take advantage of that. And they got their classes before, I think, I don't know what the population of Fresno City used to be over 30,000. So before we let the other 30,000 register for their classes, we get to register for our classes.
Great. And we've got a few other questions rolling in here. So what does the TTC class look like in terms of content that you're covering? I know that you all mentioned the matriculation process and college strategies, but maybe giving a little bit more detail.
What I liked about the staff, what Stephanie and her staff has done, they provided a workbook for us, and they also made it virtual. So they get chapters of, it's like 18 lessons, and then we go through each lesson and so forth with it. And then we have Apple TVs in our rooms now, so it works really good. Most of the students do not use the workbook, Stephanie. They go through the virtual one on the Apple TV and so forth. You got the steps, Stephanie? Can you get that on the screen? Or
While maybe working on getting that, I'm wondering in terms of eligibility, are these TTC dual enrollment classes specifically for high school students with IEPs or with disabilities, or is it open more broadly?
IEPs. So you have to have an IEP. So yeah, we do the step 1. We do that like in November, December. We apply. We have to apply for the spring of 2023, for example, then the fall of 2023. Then we do a dual enrollment application, and there's a DSPS one too. So if you can imagine, we have 70 students, so we have to do that application process like 4 times. And that's where the support from Fresno City comes in, because, the odds of making a mistake doing 4 applications with 70 students is pretty good. But we get a lot of support from Fresno City, and we also get that from our counselors also. And then the other one is the step 2, the student portal. That's a big lesson plan. I think that's one of the most important lesson plans, when the student gets their username and their ID, and they're able to utilize the student portal at Fresno City College. They arrived as the student. They have an account and an email and so forth. And one of my lessons with that is, my first lesson is, okay, now you have an email with college. You need to learn how to write professional emails. And we already covered that in high school, but then they send me an email, addressing anything regarding Fresno City College. And Fresno City, does a really good job with their technology. The orientation in step 3 is really good. So the video goes for, like 3 slides, and then they pop up the 2 or 3 questions for the student. And the student answers the questions. If they get it wrong, it goes back, review the slide, then they get it right, and then they move on. And like I said, the big one is really step 8, which is the academic advising. I think that's the most powerful one. when the students really finally realize they committed to Fresno City and they get classes and they have a folder and so forth. And they bring the nice RAM folder red with the mascot on the folder. And I think that's when most students really realize I am a student at Fresno City College. And when I mentioned the I don't know student, they're watching all this going on and they don't know what they're doing after high school. And like I said, most of the time they decide to take some class at Fresno City College also. And that's pretty much it. And the book, the text that I mentioned covers a lot of the lessons, and it's 18 lessons. And then we do follow up with a field trip, and we just did our field trip a few weeks ago. And the students really loved the field trip. I thought it was kind of, because with COVID, we haven't done a field trip in a while. We did one last year, and it was kind of like a ghost town with COVID. And then before that, we did field trips. But recently, the field trip went really good. And I asked the students, and on a scale of 10, how was the field trip? They were like a 9, a 10. They loved the field trip, Stephanie. So just let you know that most students really love the
I'm
field trip.
also, a couple other questions coming in. What's the ratio that you have in the TTC class, in terms of staff to students?
Well, we have, the way we set up at Central Unified, we have something called curriculum support classes for RSP students. And what they do, they get support for the other general ed classes. So, and those teachers supposed to be running transition activity. They run 2 or 3 transition activities per month, but the whole second semester, I am their transition activity. So I come in like every Monday or Friday, and I run a lesson on Fresno City College. So for example, at East Campus, they have that the first 4 periods of the day is a curriculum support with special ed students. And I would say the average class size is probably 12, maybe 9 to 12 students. And we do have an instructional aide, me, and if I need to, I can have the special ed teacher help.
Okay, so generally like 2 to 12, but maybe 3.
Yeah. So,
Okay, and then in terms of, would you be able to just share the names of the high schools that are now partnering or offering this TTC dual enrollment for Fresno City?
I'll talk about Central Unified real quick. Right now, we have Central High School East Campus. Now, if you go 8 more miles west, you have the old Central High School. They used to be West Campus, but they stole the name. They're Central High School now. So they go by the Central High School. And then we have a new high school called Justin Gaza High School, which will have seniors next year.
And then we also have, sorry, Rodney, we also have Sunnyside High School. We have another course that's offered there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so this is, just to clarify from some of the questions coming in, this is a collaborative program between the Fresno City College and the high school districts. And so it is for to help students who are enrolled in high schools to successfully kind of transition into college. Several people are asking about whether students who have graduated or exited high school are eligible for this type of support. So I'm wondering whether there are other supports at Fresno City College for new students that you direct them to who have exited high school already.
Well, we could offer the course. We have offered it not only at the high schools. We could offer the class as a regular class here. We also have something called Counseling 53, which is an intro to college and kind of support course. It's a regular general class that we're actually going to offer. But ultimately we can offer the class not only at high school, but on campus.
Great. And then I know we said it was for students with IEPs. Is there any distinguishing or any considerations related to whether a student is on track for a certificate of completion or for a diploma, or are all students with IEPs eligible?
Yes, actually, I forgot to mention one other. We have a special day class student. So with the 4 curriculum supports we have a self-contained classroom in another building that we move to once a week. So I do teach in that building too. And I'll give you some data on that real quick. There were like 8 special day class students, and that's the certificate program. So there were 8 seniors. And right now I am calling 97 students from last year. And what I'm amazed at is that I think 12 I got in contact with, and 3 had competitive employment. And then there were 9 going to Fresno City College. And out of the 9, 6 were certificate. So the certificate program, the kids, because of transition to college, they're already familiar with the student portal. They already had their class schedule, so forth. So they're not dropping out. So they're hanging in there. So I got like 70 more phone calls to do. So I'll give you some fresh data next week.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, someone was just asking about employment rate. I think I
Mm-hmm.
wonder, for sake of time, Susan, do you want us to? We've got lots of questions still coming in, but we can
Yeah.
slides. I know you've got more to cover.
Yes. We have a few more slides. We can take a couple of extra questions. I'll try to wrap up some of these questions. So Rodney is employed by Fresno Unified School District.
Central Unified.
Or Central, sorry, Central. Sorry, but he's not an employee of Fresno City. So
Great.
that was a question.
And then
Go ahead.
I was going to, if we've got time for a couple more, it sounds like people are wondering, is it 3 classes throughout the senior year? And is it once per week, the class, or what's the frequency, or how
Yes,
long?
so starting in January, when Fresno City semester kicks off, the second semester, we do it every Monday and Friday. There happens to be a lot of Monday holidays, so I kind of moved it to Friday because I had to get 18 lessons in. So yes, it'll be once a week for like 18 weeks.
Great. Let's see. I think let's go ahead and keep moving forward with the slides. But thank you so much, Rodney, for sharing, and lots of interest in the dual enrollment for sure.
And I'll chat my email if anybody else wants to send me a question or contact me.
Thank you, Rodney.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, so our next steps. So I know some of you are curious about if you wanted to have a TTC program at your college. So some of the things that we thought that were important to kind of start would be to, of course, reach out to your high schools regarding their SPED needs or their special educational needs in regards to, what kind of supports do those students need, and maybe how big your team is and how you can support and work together collaboratively. Again, connect with the local school district administrators to begin those conversations or partnerships in regards to some of the things we thought of, like the head counselors, who's in charge of that, maybe the program manager, the different school sites, what is the makeup of the campus, and really what supports do they need. And how receptive are they in regards to really a college being on their campus. I'm hoping they are receptive, but some may not be. But definitely reach out to those locals, your local school districts, to see how you can build that relationship. Encourage and collaboration between your campus and local feeder high schools. So you would want to maybe attend back to school nights, parent nights, maybe do some type of outreach where you can connect with not only parents but students, and seeing how you can start that relationship. Also connect with agencies for potential partnerships. So like we have our C2C, we partner with Department of Rehab, and I think I seen something in the chat in regards to workability, and seeing how you can connect and maybe start a relationship with other agencies to see how you can start that connection. So okay, so some considerations. I know some of us are going to kind of pop in and out and talk about some of these things, but we find it's important, obviously, to establish not only the college expectations, but the high school expectations. We provided this book that we've used with some different ideas in regards to navigating the transition. So working with high school seniors and their parents can be challenging, and also working with our K-12 partners and trying to figure out what's the most important for both sides of the relationship. So building not only being intentional in your transitional planning and making sure that you're targeting not only for K-12 support, but also parental and also student, and seeing what what does everybody, kind of what does everybody want and how can you support that? We also feel the power of peer mentors. So having Elijah on our team and having his expertise to kind of work with, he's a student, he's gone through the steps, so he definitely has that relationship with students so that you can use student workers to kind of help you with this process. And I think it's important to have students as mentors, and also, of course, building on your community partnerships and networks within your college to see how you can. We partner with our we call it Bridge to Go services. So they're going out to the local high schools to target all students. So we want to make sure that we're also collaborating with them to see that, what is it that they can do to help us. So, we're not doing all the work, but that they're there as a partner with us and we can, work together. So use everybody to kind of help you and support students. I think it's the best way to go. So our next slide. I don't know if anybody would like to add anything. I kind of summed up everything, I believe. Okay. All right, so now we're really at the Q&A session. And if anybody would, we have, I think a little bit of time, maybe about 15 minutes where we can answer some of those questions.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for sharing. The Tarjan Center, we really wanted to highlight this set of practices and set of the structure that you all have created at Fresno City College with your local school districts, because we think it's such a beautiful example of how that transition can be better supported and really set students up for success once they enroll in college, that they're already set up with the DSPS office. They're able to get those supports and accommodations that they need. And so part of the reason why we hosted the webinar is we're getting questions about whether these types of programs are available in other areas. And so there's I'll let Susan answer, but my understanding is that there certainly might be your local community college might have some strategies or some resources similar to what's been described. This is almost like a model of what could be. So we also are hoping to inspire other community colleges or other colleges to kind of do something similar. So, but Susan, I wonder if you have any insight on that too.
Yeah, I think Stephanie, I don't know if you'd like to, as far as I know of, I'm sure, I know our campus, our sister campuses. So I know Reedley and Clovis within our own district has their own transition to college and also Reg to Go services where they're going out to the high schools. I'm not sure, within our area, which ones have these programs. We should probably all get together and see and brainstorm together. But as far as I know of, Stephanie, I don't know if you want to jump on. I personally have not looked to see what other programs are doing, but I would love to collaborate and see.
Yeah, I'm only familiar with our sister colleges who provide this type of transitional service, but yeah, always open to learn more about other colleges who are maybe doing the same work or learning how we can change things up and improve.
Great. We're also getting questions about the college to career program, specifically for people who might be interested in that program in terms of eligibility. So if they are currently not living in the Fresno area, how would you kind of navigate that or because I know that many classes are back in person and supports are in person. So
So some of the questions with regards to C2C program, that is open to any student enrolled in the DSPS office. So one component is the DSPS counselors, if they have a current student who they see may benefit from the program, they can make an internal referral. The DOR counselor assigned to our C2C program also makes referrals. The reason for the collaboration with TTC is to target like the first year students with the diagnosis of ID or autism, to really assist them, of course, transitioning and understanding the DSPS office, but it provides that one-on-one support with our ed coaches and job development. So it's a big component for me to go out to the high schools with the team and educate and promote the program so that students are aware. but it is open to any DSPS student here at Fresno City College, and the referrals come in internally and from DOR if they have a student looking to go back to work.
But they-
DOR is Department of Rehab, and they assist individuals with disabilities to come to school and then find work. So it is a vocational based program. So C2C main objective is finding that competitive integrated employment for students. And students, come into C2C and maybe college just wasn't what they were expecting. So, they can still stay in touch with DOR and gain straight to work supports. So just the outreach as a high school level, college level, it's just really important to stay connected.
Yeah, and I see that people have put in the Q&A, there are 8 college to career programs throughout the state. And so that's something to be aware of. Also, I'm going to put in the chat to everybody that Think College has an inclusive post-secondary education program directory for programs across the US, specifically for students with intellectual disability. In terms of, just to clarify, Sage, so students would have to be California residents, and you would recommend that they be living in Fresno or move to Fresno if they were going to be part of the C2C program, since there's in-person supports. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's not residential support. So that is a huge factor to be local and close to the college and to find work. Basically, the support from the program is more one-on-one. So they're a DSPS student, but they're obtaining just one-on-one supports with a job developer and educational coach. It does not provide housing. DOR will pay for like a transportation pass. But that is definitely something to keep in mind, that it is really independent. Students do need to, come to campus independently, be ready to work independently. So it's not a residential transition to living program.
Thank you. All right, so another question here about interactions with high school. So for your TTC team, are the DSPS counselors working with the student case carriers? How much time do counselors spend on the high school campuses each semester? A logistical question.
So our counselors spend as much time as they need in order to meet with students. Sometimes that varies, as you know, depending on student attendance. That's kind of one of the major issues that we've come across. While we can set up workshops and, provide students with the steps that they need for the matriculation process, it does get kind of difficult when we bring counselors out, but there aren't any students showing up. So that's also something to keep in mind. So within the TTC program, we've kind of learned that we do have to kind of be a little bit adaptable, meaning sometimes we don't really know the situation that we're working in or we don't really know how many students are actually going to be in the classes. So we just kind of judge how many counselors we need based off of the caseload. We usually do 2 consecutive days. So depending on the first day, we'll go ahead and make adjustments for the following day in terms of how many counselors are needed.
Great, thank you so much. Let's see.
I did see another C2C question, so I can answer that. So these are the mainstream certificates offered by Fresno City College. Most students in the program here are receiving a certificate of achievement. There are a few students who are pursuing an associate's degree as well. I did see another question about the accommodations, the differences between accommodations in high school versus college. And I know that Stephanie has a lot of information on that gets distributed through the TTC class and parent outreach. And And so we just do our best to educate and provide those differences. And then of course, during our DSPS intake with students, if they are coming in from the high schools, it's again emphasized during that DSPS intake with our counselors.
And just to, I also work closely with the college to career program. So just to also add to the second part of the question related to getting associate's degrees and vocational certificates. So yeah, many of the students are getting vocational certificates, associates, like Sage mentioned. But in terms of getting one-on-one support, that is something unique for the C2C programs, in that there is supports that go beyond kind of the traditional 504 accommodations that are provided in college. And so students receive educational coaching. And I see Sage is unmuted. So if you want to share again about that.
Yeah, so our C2C program here, we have 5 educational coaches. So the students do meet weekly with their ed coach for that extra support, because yes, these are college level courses. If I do meet with a student who's interested in joining C2C, but maybe they are not ready, or they were not aware that it was a college level certificate or associates, then our office provides 5 certificate programs under our EAC classes. So those are our developmental service courses, so that I can refer for students to take some of those classes to kind of get familiar with the college system and classes and DSPS, and then they can always come back and join C2C. So they're still getting appropriate referrals and one-on-one support from the DSPS counselors and DSPS certificate and instructors. But C2C is a specialized program, and as mentioned, it's not there's not that many, but I wouldn't discourage colleges from designating their own counselors to keep those students retained in the DSPS office with like ID or autism, but just having the appropriate resources and referrals.
Yeah, and that's something, just that I'll add to as well, like that if you have a counselor, or you can identify a counselor or designate a counselor to really be well-versed in some of the additional supportive services within your college, but also outside of the college, since students on the spectrum or with intellectual disability are often eligible for supports through regional center, things with independent living supports, mobility training, supports through DOR, whether, employment prep, work experience. So those would be great to be able to link students to. If your campus doesn't have a C2C, your campus might have other supportive resources that might be, or programs that might be applicable, that you can help direct these students to proactively, whether it's wellness resources or sensory safe spaces. I know that there's workability programs, which is in the chat, that many community colleges have too. So that's another thing to just be aware of. All right, so let's see, in terms of other questions here, just building off of the question, there's a question related to the IDEA and the transition from high school to college to ADA. Does the TTC team work with parents specifically to help understand that? I know that Sage, you addressed how the TTC team works with students, to help give information on that that transition. But I'm wondering if and how you all work with parents.
Stephanie, do you want to talk about your first contact, with high school students and parents, and how you educate them? And then we can speak on the counselor side of how we reinforce that. And
Sure. So coming from a college perspective, we understand how important parental support is during times of transition. However, with FERPA, that Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, that kind of prevents some parental support, in a sense that once a student does apply to a college, so for instance, it would be the State Center Community College District, that student is considered an independent student, and legally we're only allowed to discuss anything regarding their records or anything regarding their school information only with them. So that's kind of one of the biggest transitional issues that come with the K through 12 and coming over to the college expectation realm, is that there are different roles that parents play. They're still a support person, but they're not the primary support person. We focus mainly on the students, and we're working primarily with the students. While we can do back to school nights, parent nights, things like that, we focus a lot of our attention mainly on the student to prepare them for that type of independence that they will need in order to be successful in the college space.
And from the counselor point of view, when we have that DSPS intake and establish that academic accommodation plan, students, may say, oh, I had this, on my, high school support IEP 504 plan. And so again, educating the student on the different laws, ADA, what at the college level. And if it's something that can't, be used as an accommodation, providing the supports on campus, like a learning strategies class, different offices on campus, things like that.
All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for your time, your attention. That is the time that we have for today. I'm going to put in the chat right now an evaluation survey. We would really appreciate you all filling out the evaluation survey. I'm also going to share my screen and put up a QR code for us all. Let's see. Let me get that. Sorry, guys. But your feedback is very valuable to us, and we definitely would appreciate you filling it out. So here you go. So you can use the QR code to access the survey, or you can click the link. Your feedback allows us to continue to provide these types of webinars and information about innovative programs and models. So we really appreciate it. And thank you again to the Fresno City College Transition to College team for sharing all of the wonderful ways that you're supporting a transition for students. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. We did add our contact information in the chat.
Sorry.
So if you would like to reach out to us, Stephanie, myself, Sage, and also Lorena, you have any questions in regards to TTC. If we didn't answer your questions, I apologize. I was typing in and trying to answer everyone. I know somebody asked about a workbook. We have that. It's not for purchase. We can definitely share that. So we can reach out to Stephanie. And we can definitely share any resources if you would like. So, thank you again.
Thank you all. All right, I'm gonna put the link in the chat one more time for everybody to the evaluation survey. Really appreciate it. And we will be logging off, I think. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you heard me. I was talking. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
No.
I heard you share about how your contact information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Was there something else you were saying?
No. I was just mentioning that our contact information was in there. If you had any questions or comments, if you want to reach out for any resources, feel free to reach out.
Yes. I know that you might be getting questions because there were some we didn't get to, and that's so lovely that you're also willing to share some of the resources in the workbook that you guys have developed. So it's great. All right. Thank you all. And we're going to go ahead and close the webinar now.